Week 16, we'll see the Texans travel to Tampa Bay. The question, I think, will the real Houston Texans please stand up?
Yeah, and I think they will for this game. I think that obviously Deshaun Watson getting his trio of receivers back, Fuller, Kenny Stills, and DeAndre Hopkins, those three guys are going to be instrumental in keeping Deshaun Watson on track and keeping the Houston Texans on track offensively. And I think they get the win this week and continue on to Week 17.
I'm going with Houston as well. I want to see something out of this team after a big win. I don't want to see a letdown here, and this is going to bode well for them in the playoffs. If they can come off a big win and win another game where they're supposed to win, I want to see Houston get the job done, win this football game, and look to the future.
Well, they need to win this division, close it out, and to your point, Rob, look ahead to the postseason. It's a game that I think matters more than we thought it would when you looked at the season schedule. Buffalo traveling to New England.
Yeah, I'm going with Buffalo on this one. Look, I just think New England is in a vulnerable place right now. Offensively, they're struggling to put points up on the board. And I just think that Buffalo coming in with that defense is going to be able to stop that offense of New England and be able to put some points up with Josh Allen and have some unique offensive schemes to get him the football, both rushing the football with Josh Allen with their quarterback, as well as getting it in his arm, third down situations, throwing the ball. I think Buffalo gets the win.
You would. Anyway, all right, so this is going to be a good old-fashioned defensive showdown, and I can't wait. Whoever turns the ball over more is going to lose this football game. So last time the Patriots faced Buffalo, they had 4 turnovers. If that happens again, they'll lose. So this is going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes.
And offensively, all eyes on N'Keal Harry, I think, for New England, because outside of Julian Edelman, they need some of those guys to step up, and he's probably the one they'll turn to. It's a West Coast affair. The Rams and 49ers in San Francisco, of course, coming off a loss that just sort of baffled everybody to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I'm going with the Niners in this one, but I want to see just how they come back off of this. Obviously, it was a heartbreaking end-of-the-game loss. How do you bounce back from this, San Francisco? Because you're obviously going to be in the playoffs, and you're going to have to go through some adversity throughout this game, throughout any game, especially in the playoffs. How can you come back from that adversity and prove to everyone that you are the team to beat in the NFC and you can move forward and be a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, and I agree with you. This is going to be one of those character-type games.
Exactly.
How do you bounce back from a game that you should have won last week? They should have won that football game. They came up short, so now you have to move on. Forget about that game, but let that game motivate you a little bit. So I'm taking San Francisco. I think they'll be motivated. I think they'll be ready to go, and they understand how important these last 2 games are.
Look, it was a big swing from San Francisco from 1 to the 5 seed, but they can still control their own future. They just need to win out and look ahead to the postseason. Jacksonville on the road against an Atlanta team that, let's be honest, I know they've had a tough season, but they've been a different ball team since the bye.
Yeah, I mean, the last month of football for the Atlanta Falcons has been tremendous. I think Matty Ice and Julio Jones have been able to get some synergy and some energy with one another. And I think you saw that at the end of the 49er game. So I'm picking Atlanta to win this one. I think they're playing really good football under Quinn right now, and they're really playing for their head coach, which you love to see at this juncture of the season. So I'm going with Atlanta.
And you talk about playing for your head coach. I don't see that in Jacksonville right now. So I'm going to take Atlanta as well. I think last week, beating a 49ers team that was one of the best teams in the NFL, in the NFC, everyone thought that hands down there was no chance that the Falcons win this game. They actually go across the country, get the win. So they got to be pretty confident, feeling pretty good about themselves. So I'm taking Atlanta in this game.
Look, nothing set in stone, but there are questions about the future of both Dan Quinn and Doug Marrone heading into the offseason. It's quite possible no team has had a smoother season from start to now. I can't say finish, but then the Baltimore Ravens. And really, it's not the case at all for Cleveland. So an interesting matchup for these 2 teams.
Yeah, definitely an interesting matchup, especially where they both sit. But I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens in this one. I just think they're clicking on all cylinders. They understand who they are. They come into every game with a sense of confidence and understanding that they're going to win this ball game, or they're going to put their best foot forward, and that other team has to try and fight and combat that. So I'm going with the Ravens in this one. Cleveland just going on the other side. They're worried about different things over there. They're not really all together. So I'm going with the Ravens, and obviously the NFL MVP, in my opinion, in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm going Ravens, and the big trust, and they're having fun, and they're dancing. They're dancing all over the field with the big. You got the head coach saying big trust after the game. I like the confidence. I love the swagger that team has on the field. And look, they remember early in the season they lost to the Browns, and they're going to be fired up, ready for this football game. And they're a different team now than they were then. So I'm excited. I bet you they're pumped up they just have to get through this game healthy. Yep. Just get through the game healthy. They got 2 games, win them out, stay healthy, get in the playoffs.
Anything can happen, but it is hard to envision a scenario, given everything that's going on in Cleveland, that this doesn't work out in Baltimore's favor. A week after Drew Brees made history on Monday night, he'll try to do more, this time against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and I like what Tennessee's doing. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill there, he's been much improved and throwing the ball all over the football field. But I got to go with the New Orleans Saints here in this one. I just think Drew Brees and his plethora of playmakers out there, he understands how to get the job done. He is a veteran quarterback that has been to the mountaintop and has faced the bottoms of the bottom. So he understands just what it takes to get to that next level, and he's instilling that mindset into all of his players, especially some younger guys that haven't really reached it just yet. And I think that's going to bode well for now and into the postseason.
Yeah, I'm going with the Saints. You see a team that's motivated from last year. They should have been in the Super Bowl facing the Patriots, but we all know what happened there. So I think this whole season's been just everyone collectively coming together, trying to get to the game that they should have been last year, and you see that right now. Last week, Drew Brees getting the record, throwing 96% completions percentage. That's ridiculous. Crazy. It's crazy. So I just feel like that team is trending in the right direction at the right time, and they're really tough.
I think Drew Brees is a man on a mission, and agreed that team trying to avenge what happened at the end of last year. The Carolina Panthers are on the road against the Colts. Both of these teams facing a lot of question marks looking ahead to the offseason.
Yeah, a lot of question marks, but I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts here. I just think Jacoby Brissett is a guy that understands how to get off the snide. After facing a tough loss against the New Orleans Saints, I think he understands that he got to get this team with a good taste in their mouth going into the offseason, and it's up to him, and it's up to these guys, his playmakers, his receiving core, his tight ends, to make those plays for him in order to have that good game, that game that they're looking for, to kind of rally the troops and go into the offseason on a high note.
Yeah, you talk about going to the offseason on a high note. Both teams are kind of underachieving on where they should have been when you look at early in the season. So I'm going with Carolina in this game. I think that they have the talent to get the job done. And when I look at the Colts, I don't know where this happened, but they completely fell off a cliff. And I don't know how it happened, because early in the season I said they were the second best team in the AFC. And then you look now and you're like, well, nothing is going in the right direction for them. So I'm going with Carolina. You know, they have the weapons. They have a younger quarterback. Understand that they lost their head coach, but I still see a team here coming together. And Greg Olson's coming back from injury, so you'll get a key piece back for leadership.
Well, Jacoby Brissett only under contract one more season. The Colts will have to decide if he's their future. Carolina answering some of the same questions next year. Well, look, there is something to play for in this game, that's for sure, as we make our way to the final few games of the regular season, Cincinnati and Miami. Yeah,
I'm going with Miami in this one. I just think that they understand that they have to have a positive outlook on the rest of the season. I think they've played good football towards the end of the year, and they wanted to get that bad taste out of everybody's mouth. I think they understand that they've been, somewhat laughed at throughout the year, but they want to change that. And you can see with their level of play that they want to change the perception of what they are. So I'm going with the Dolphins, and they want to exit this season on a high note and look forward to next.
Yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins as well. I think Cincinnati's going to go down there, and they're probably going to want to just stay. Like, hey, can we just stay down in this nice weather and not go back and have to play this last week, because it doesn't matter anyway. So when I look at Cincinnati, I don't know what that team is. I don't know where they'll be, but they'll have the #1 overall pick. So whoever that is, have fun in Cincy. But, when I look at this game, Miami's still playing tough, and it's a reflection of the head coach.
Listen, I was just going to say, I think you have to tip your hat to Brian Flores, and I think there's some indications that the future could be bright in Miami. They got a lot of holes to fill, but they seem to be making some progress, at least with a culture shift. It is a must-win game for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the New York Jets. Victor.
Yeah, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. Look, I just think defensively they have 9 first-round draft picks on that defense. I think that alone is going to be the catalyst to get that victory in this game. Obviously, offensively, they got to get the ball to their running back and get that running game going. That's the only way they're going to have to provide that balance for their backup quarterback. But I think defensively, with all that talent, all those guys they got getting after it on the football and getting after the football and getting after the quarterback, I think defensively the Steelers have the edge.
I agree. Steelers, their defense is playing really well. You watch them play last week against the Bills. They're fast. They get after the quarterback. They can cover. So I'm going with the Steelers on this one. If they get Connor involved early in this game, establish the running game, I don't know if Juju's back or not from his injury, but that offense has to do just enough not to lose the football game. Don't turn the ball over, and the duck, don't throw 3 picks, right? Because last week we saw when you throw those interceptions, that's what cost them the game was that.
Listen, a revenge game, if you will, for Le'Veon Bell. They say it doesn't matter, but you know it does.
Matters.
The New York Giants face the Washington Redskins in the nation's capital, and notable, it appears as though Daniel Jones will return.
Yeah, and that's the reason I'm picking the New York Football Giants to win the game. Look, Daniel Jones is coming back. He actually gets some of his receivers back, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and obviously Darius Slayton, who's been a surprise receiver for the Giants, making big play after big play week in and week out. So I'm going with the Giants in this one. I think they bounce back and get a victory against the Redskins, a division rival.
Well, you sound like an insider, so I'm going with everything you said.
I know a thing or two.
You might know a few things. Yeah, I'm going with the Giants. I just look at the Redskins, and they're kind of slipping. They're not going in the right direction. The Giants are still figuring it out, but the bright spot, they do have Daniel Jones.
Well, they do, and again, a full participant in practice so far this week. So although it's not determined, the expectation is he'll play. 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, we have Detroit and Denver. Denver trying to answer that quarterback question, but now they got Drew Lock.
Yeah, and I like Drew Lock. I think he's a guy that can do some things mobily with his legs, get the ball downfield. He's accurate down the field, even on the run, and he's proven that in the short stint that he's been playing with Denver now. So that's going to be the key for me in that game, is watching Drew Lock and watching his maturation process from this week into next week. And if he's their guy for next year, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going with Denver in this one and looking for Drew Lock to have a big game.
I'm going with Denver as well. You hear all the things coming out of Detroit. Matty P's going to stick around. They're going to have him for one more season. So now's the time you figure out what pieces are we going to keep around for next season, because he's still building something there. But it hasn't worked out well for them. You lose your starting quarterback in Stafford basically all season when he was having a great year and he had the back injury. So I think that team could be a lot better next year, but this year didn't work out for them.
They'll have to be, because Martha Ford has put them on notice. She will give the GM and head coach one more year, but she said, I expect improvement. The Oakland Raiders face the Chargers, and it really hasn't been the season either of these teams or quarterbacks, by the way, had hoped for.
Yeah, and then losing Josh Jacobs, obviously, at the running back position for the Oakland Raiders is just a huge setback for them. So I'm going with the Chargers in this one. I just think Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen, that entire playmaking core that Phillip Rivers has at his disposal will be on display this weekend. They want to leave. Obviously, we don't know what Phillip Rivers' future is as well, so I know they want to leave with a good taste in Phillip Rivers' mouth with this game and the rest of the season, so I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers as well. Maybe Rivers is auditioning for an Oakland team that might be searching for a quarterback as well, so we will see. But when you look at the weapons and the things that are available to him, he should be successful, and hopefully he takes care of the football and doesn't throw any more interceptions.
Crazy, really, when you think about Derek Carr and Phillip Rivers, but it's possible both these teams take a long look at the quarterback position after the season. Talk about a game that matters. The NFC East really, truly on the line. The Cowboys and the Eagles.
Yeah, it don't get much bigger than this for both teams, right? So I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys in this one. Look, Dak Prescott's going to play. He understands that he's going through some injuries, but that coaching staff has to put him in position to win. And putting him in position to win means Ezekiel Elliott has to set the tone for this team, and that's going to be the game breaker for this one. Now, Philadelphia knows that. They understand that the Cowboys are going to come in trying to establish the run. Can they do enough defensively to stop that? That's the tale of the football game. But I think Cowboys will make more plays and end up the victors in this one. See what I did there, Rob? The victors?
I'm going with the Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles. Look, if your quarterback can't throw a football until game day with an AC injury, I just don't feel comfortable with Dak and the injury. And you talked about the coaching staff. What was the issue most of the year? Some of the coaching.
That is a fair point.
So when I look at what they have done recently, they beat the Rams. Okay, the Rams traveled on the road. Didn't seem like they played necessarily well. And if you're the Eagles, stop the run and let Dak throw the football and test that shoulder is what they're going to do going into that game. That's their game plan. Let them run the football, stop the run. That's the game.
To Rob's point, Dak Prescott unable to practice all week. The expectation is that he'll play without having practiced at all. The Arizona Cardinals coming off a shellacking of the Cleveland Browns. Will they follow that up against, dare I say, the Seattle Seahawks?
I don't think so. I think Russell Wilson just has his temperament. He understands how to take command and charge of a football game, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor is Russell Wilson getting the ball to his playmakers, throwing it up to where only his guy can get it and no one else, and making big play after big play. I'm counting on Russell Wilson to have a big game, a big day, and come out with the win.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle as well. I think the running game has set them apart this year from the previous couple of years. You look back on when Seattle was very successful and they had Marshawn, they were running the football. So they're back at it. They're running the football, and Carson, he's doing a great job for him. And then you got Russell Wilson, who's the best, one of the best in the NFL right now. So I'm going with Seattle.
Yeah, there's some signs that there are some pieces in place in Arizona, but I don't think they're there just yet.
Yep.
The Kansas City Chiefs off that snow game where they looked like they were having a lot of fun. They won't have snow in Chicago this week. It's actually going to be rather balmy for December. But you got the Chiefs and the Bears.
Chiefs, Bears, I'm going with the Chiefs in this one. If you saw Patrick Mahomes throwing darts out there in the snow as if it was 83 and sunny, if you think he's not going to do that when it's 35 and clear, you're sadly mistaken. So I'm going with Patrick Mahomes in this one. He's he's been on rapport with his receiving core and his pass catchers all year long, and I think he's finally hitting his stride now when you want him to. When you're at the end of the season, going into that playoff push, I'm going with Pat Mahomes and that Kansas City offense. Not to mention adding Terrell Suggs to that defense, another pass rusher to disrupt other quarterbacks, and the perfect timing when you need it at the end of the season going into the post.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas City. I just think that Mahomes coming back from the injury, that kind of knocked him off track a little bit, having to regain confidence in himself and his leg that he can still do the things that he had done prior to his injury. I think we're seeing that, and the offense looks really good. Defense, you got T-Sizzle, on the edge for that leadership to get after the quarterback. He's going to be there just for the playoff push, and he knows it, so he's going to be motivated.
A timely pickup, really, for that Chiefs defense. They were playing well, lose two key pieces, and then they add Suggs. So nice work by the Chiefs. Green Bay on the road in Minnesota to face a Vikings team that is 6-0 at home. And I tell you what, all the marbles on the line.
Yeah, everything's on the line in this one, and I just can't go against Aaron Rodgers. I think he understands how big this game is. He's getting his guys ready for it. This is what they play for, right? This is the opportunity that every team wants to be in, and exactly where they want to be going into the end of the season and into the postseason and the playoff push, and they're right in the heart of it. And I think Aaron Rodgers and Coach LaFleur is going to have this team ready to rock and roll, and Aaron Rodgers isn't going to lose this one. So I'm going with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers to win this game.
Yeah, and I think you said undefeated at home. The Vikings, a very tough team at home. I'm going with the Vikings. I think that they have the mental toughness. I understand Cook is dealing with the shoulder injury. He might not be there, but yet they have a great offensive line. I think that they can get the job done as long as their defensive front, the Vikings front that is, gets after Rodgers, doesn't give him all day, and they got to stop the run.
Well, and a win would get that Monday night monkey off the back of Kirk Cousins, although obviously more important to him would be the postseason.
Hi everyone, thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, more analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+. We'll see you there.